Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Spilling the Tea Leaves podcast with your hosts, Rachel and Michelle.
Hi.
we are we are really excited to do our first series. We are starting our Summer Chakra series today. Today is an introduction essentially to chakra systems and beliefs and ideas. What are they? How can you feel into them? How do you work with them? Why would you want to do that? What's the history? And Michelle has an absolutely insane amount of knowledge about this topic, so I'm really excited to hear more about each one. So we're going to start today with an introduction, a
Yes.
history, a basic introductory course, and then over the next um, additional 7 podcasts, we will address each of the well, again, they're different chakra systems, but we're going to focus on essentially the 7 main or most, I suppose, widely recognized
Yes.
in the most popular, in the most currently popular tradition. And again, we'll get into that a bit more. There's so much to talk about. I know Michelle has done a lot of prep work, and we're very excited.
Yeah. I mean, chakras. So, what are chakras? Like, where I feel
I
like
love it.
this is a word
Jumping
that
in.
what are chakras. Let's just jump in. I, there are. This is a word that's popularly used in the spiritual New Age community, but there's not a lot of. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. There is a lot of information, and that information can sometimes become overwhelming. So hopefully Rachel and I can kind of condense it for you and give you a quick background on what it is. I mean, chakras essentially are energy centers, so they are our spiritual power in the human body. So they connect our physical bodies to our esoteric or our spiritual bodies. So they are that sort of bridge between the physical plane and your spiritual plane, your soul. It's what keeps you. Uh, it's your source of spiritual power, essentially.
Okay.
And now, like Rachel mentioned, the most popular. So yeah, there's a lot. All right.
Right. Like how do we even where like it's like looking at an apple. Like where do you take the first
Where do
bite?
you
Like
take?
okay.
So please feel free to interrupt me or stop me or ask questions because I might get lost in my head and I do that a lot.
Okay.
Um, so chakras, the model that we popularly see, especially in social media or when you Google chakras or look up a crystal for a chakra, is the Asian or the Indian model, which shows 7 main chakras starting from your root, which is your first chakra, which is in your lower chakra, all the way up to your crown chakra, which is located on the top of your head.
Okay.
So there's 7 ones, and it looks like a rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet.
Okay.
So that's the image that you popularly see everywhere. That's when people are saying, "Oh, your root chakra is black," and oh, it's the one that's located on my coccyx. It's the one that's there. So that's what you know. There are So healers have used this energy system to help heal disease and bring harmony to the person that they're seeing.
Okay.
Um, it's been used throughout histories, and it's been used cross culturally. So, although the model that we see now is the Indian model that does have their Sanskrit names that we'll go over briefly when we talk about chakras, almost every culture historically has had their own chakra model. And this is something that's not really popularly known because, like everything else, one big one just takes over, and that's just all the information that you find. For example, So, like I've said, the Indian model has it's going up from the bottom to the top.
Okay.
The Mayans also had their own energy system, but their chakras were located at the extremities. So if you're looking at me on YouTube, my arms are out like an idiot. So the Mayans had a system where their chakra system was in their extremities, in their arms. So three chakras per arms and in their legs. And the belief system was that they were also energy healers, a form of Reiki. So since the energy usually travels through your arms in order for you to do the energy healing, they believe the chakra systems was located there in their
Okay.
extremities.
Okay, I get
Uh,
that. It actually makes
yeah.
me think too of in one of my yoga classes, we actually do some kind of like Tai Chi energy work where we work
Yep.
with like energy, like, and we have like a ball of energy, and and although I do also feel very connected and can intuitively understand the more widely used Asian model that most of us are
Uh-huh.
familiar with, that also actually makes intuitive sense to me because like I feel energy,
Exactly.
and like with grounding, like like especially when I'm hiking, I can actually feel kind of the energy going from my legs down and then back into the earth. Like I that
Yeah.
okay, like
I
I
mean, if you think about it, like your feet are what's touching the earth, so it makes
right,
sense that you are grounding through your feet. Like
right
that's
versus
what's connecting you. Uh-huh.
yes, versus like in the more widely used system,
Uh-huh.
as it stands now, like the root chakra is located essentially where your tailbone is. Is
Your
that
tailbone
accurate?
topics. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I don't dispute that necessarily, and I do think someone who suffers with a lot of fear and low back issues, I definitely feel some resonance there. But on the other hand, like a lot of times, especially when I'm grounding, it's literally through my legs, like
But yeah, so the belief system with having your root chakra there, the popular model is when you're sitting and meditating, what's touching the earth is your
okay,
backside. So
okay,
there's a reason for both,
okay,
right? There are different models for each belief system. The Celtics also had their own chakra system, which is not popularly known.
yeah,
Um,
I had no
and
idea. That's wild.
I know. So theirs is very similar to the traditional Asian model, except the chakra model that we use now goes from top to bottom, and the Celtic model formed almost like a spiral. That's how if you looked at it, it was up and down, but the way it was used was almost in a spiral.
Okay,
But the funny thing is that if you outline the spiral model for those who are familiar with Reiki and the symbols, it looked like the Choku Rei symbol, which is also, it's a Japanese healing model. But it's funny how a lot of these ideas overlap, and there is and
and
oceans of
millennia, yeah. I mean, time, like
it's
distance, time, like distance, and then time. So
yeah,
much of these ideas and feelings are truly archetypal. I mean, they span divides that our human brains can't even really fully comprehend. It's really mind blowing.
exactly. So, but for the sake of this podcast, we are going to focus on the traditional model of the seven main chakras, I hope. Because there's not actually seven, there's more like 12, and many believe there's even up to 22,
Yeah,
right?
it's I have I was so lucky. My mom is so sweet in that it's like she wants to support me in my pursuit. So she and I actually asked for some gift boxes from the Spiritual Toolbox, which is a company in Australia down here in the southern hemisphere that they do really cool and anyway, right. So I asked my mom for my birthday back on the solstice if I could have these gift boxes, and one of them had 7 chakra essential oils and then one that's like a soul, just like a soul healing balm oil. Oh, and I'm just like rubbing them all over myself like, and my poor low back every day. I'm just like,
Heal,
yes, oil. Like,
heal, heal.
yes.
Let's just pour the oil on top of you. Well, one of the things before we get on this to the second half, I want to mention now is that when your chakras are out of balance, it does affect not only yourself emotionally and spiritually, but after a while, after you ignore it long enough, it starts affecting you physically. So there is a lot of when I work with clients, and one of the reasons I like doing long distance is because it really lets me connect with the person without the person getting too antsy on the table. So it just gives me time. Like I'm in my own space. She has the time. She has the patience, and I could really like go into it and see where your blocks are at to the point where I can almost feel where your aches and pains are. So when a chakra is ignored long enough, you start carrying, it starts almost like a weight and a pain where it's located. And then it translated to like this physical pain to the point where like, oh, no doctors can tell me what's wrong, but it hurts a lot. So for those who have problems with their heart chakra or like problems in relationships and like that, stuff like that, their shoulders, they start carrying all their stress on their shoulders. For those who aren't grounded, Rachel, they start carrying that pain on their backs and they start really like it's amazing how this works, but your spiritual body, your esoteric body does start having an effect on your physical body because they're connected. It's like a bridge. It really, really is like a bridge, and you can't ignore one and not have it affect the other. Do you have any questions, Rachel?
Oh gosh.
Before I continue, do you want to say anything?
No, it's just interesting to me to kind of I'm familiar and I work with my chakras, but not quite as intimately or as deeply, I suppose, as Michelle has done over the last number of years. So it's been interesting to see kind of how my spiritual path and my experience spiritually manifests physically. And to me, the chakra system, again, using the most widely or commonly known one, um, it does make a lot of intuitive sense because and I think a lot of our listeners will agree that funny things like sore throats tend to happen when you're not speaking your truth, and sore shoulders and things happen in this area. I mean, I remember when my father-in-law had emergency open heart surgery, and under he'd sort of like just come out or just come to, and he said something about like his heart being broken open, and it was like so
Oh,
right. I mean, like, there's this sense of like having carried this pain around for a really long time. And yes, in my own personal experience, this sense of grounding and low back pain, and it's interesting too because even more I suppose westernized healthcare will you'll see these synchronicities. So um, I visited an osteopath recently to help with my low back, and an osteopath is someone who it's kind of along the same lines as a chiropractor. They do healing work, and it's but it's kind of adjusting and aligning, and so he uses words like congested and flow, which to me it's right, it's all about alignment and energy and making sure that things are flowing and going where they need to go. And it was really interesting to me because we were talking about my low back, and he said something to me about, Rachel, you really need to get outside without shoes on. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And he said, Rachel, he's like, your your sensory input and your feet, like you're not feeling that energetic connection to the earth. And it was just like I just wished I wished Michelle was with me, because it was just this really oddly resonant moment again in this, like, like the guy's cracking my back and I'm like, can you please just fix my back? And then also I have these spiritual things I'm working on. But like Michelle was saying, like
It's
like
connected. It's so
it
connected.
it's
It's
and
totally connected.
it was just this kind of, vaguely annoying, because now I actually have to, do this. But like, but like this 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 beautiful little, like, resonant moment, of,
Yeah,
like, these things that are happening in my body are also to deal with my connectedness to the earth. And
yeah.
and like I said, here's this like British osteopath guy, like, and he gets it. And it was, anyway, I wish all medical practitioners were like that. I hope that we, both Michelle and I here personally, and our listeners, and just humanity in general, can really capitalize on this spiritual physical connection. And to me, that's what the chakra systems are about. Like we talked about
Yeah.
initially, it's this bridge
Mhm.
spiritually and physically. And um and and it's, and it's kind of easy to sink your teeth into, because it's quite a visually beautiful system, like to picture these colors and this rainbow gradient. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite,
It's
it's
an
a
it's
really, go ahead.
yeah, it's an easy thing to learn. Honestly, it's something that you can work on privately if it's something that you want to explore on your own. You don't need any, I'm just going to be honest, you don't need any formal training. You just need to be able to recognize the imbalances within yourself. You need to be able to recognize, oh, well, maybe I do, you know, I need to work on being more creative. I need to work on grounding myself. So, and this is not to say that if you are having physical pain, not to go to the doctor and be like, no,
Right,
no, my
right.
chakra is just out of whack. That this is not. We're not here for that. We're here to tell you that if you feel spiritually and emotionally imbalanced, there's still a chance for you to kind of hook onto those chakras. But do not ignore physical pains, or if it's really a heavy mental burden, please see a healthcare professional,
Yeah.
because all the hand healing and energy healing in the world sometimes is just not enough, and we are not about hurting people or completely ignoring Western medicine. There's a reason
No.
for Western medicine, and it works. Thank you very much, antibiotics.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, one of the things that I wanted to mention before we go on to the break is what our chakras look like. A lot of people have this idea that your chakras are just internal, that they
Okay.
just sit inside your body. Um, and it doesn't work that way. Your chakras actually extend out from the middle of your body, almost like a cone. The best way I can describe it is, I'm going to go to food. If you grab two ice cream cones and put them in the middle, and that middle part is the center of your body, and your chakras extend outward outside of your body. So it is around you. And that's part
Okay.
of the, for healers, that's part of the reason we're able to kind of get in touch with it because we're not going into your tailbone. Ew. We can feel the energy on the outside. We can feel the energy on the outside, and that does affect your aura, and that's why your auras are always changing colors. You are
Okay.
a physical, energetic being, and the energy is not just contained inside your body, it does go outward. So for empath, especially when somebody's not having a good day, you're sometimes picking up a lot of on those imbalances and that energy. Everything is energy. We're all energy. And just like that, your chakras are also, you touch on that a little bit. One thing I wanted to say, and this actually just came up yesterday, and you're gonna laugh, Rachel, because I haven't told you this. So
Hmm.
yesterday, I am a part of a bunch of woo-woo Facebook groups. So if you ever see me on a Facebook group, say hi, Michelle Mello. Um, and not to call this particular person out, I'm not going to say her name, but in one of the groups, the question was asked, can you, how, no, not can, was it can you or how do you remove your chakras?
What?
And yes, it was a really odd question. And she said that somebody told her, an energy healer told her that you are able to remove your chakras. Now, unless I have completely missed something, which I feel like I haven't, I've never even heard of this, that is the equivalent of cutting out a vital organ.
I was just
If
gonna
you
say,
can
like,
even do that. I don't think
what?
you
Like,
can even do that.
well, but what again? Like, we talk. Longtime listeners will know that we talk about spiritual bypassing a lot. I mean, like, what would the purpose be other than to just like I'm having I don't know, my root chakra annoys me, or I don't want to have to work on this. Like, why? I don't even understand what the point of removal would be other than to sort of like bypass the challenge of rebalancing or working with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's again, unless if somebody can leave a comment or write us an email, spilling the tea leaves at gmail.com, because
Huh.
I don't, maybe she just had enough heartbreak. She's like, you know what? I don't need my heart chakra anymore.
Yeah, like
I never want
I'm
to
done.
fall in love.
Closing up
I'm
closing up shop.
done closing up shop. Remove this organ,
Peace.
remove this energy source. I no longer need it for this lifetime. Arrivederci. Like, that's the only, again, unless I'm missing something completely, to me, that's the equivalent of opening your own chest and pulling out your heart. Literally pulling out your heart, not in some melodramatic way. It's literally cutting aortas and removing, because
Oh.
that is the only way I see. If you could even do that, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of chakra surgery.
Huh. Well,
Trademark that too, by
yes.
the way.
Again, if
Go
anyone
go.
has any insight, even in my darkest times, I guess I've never fully wanted to rid. It was more like how can I fix this, not how do I remove it? Like, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
it was
Huh.
total, and the comments were along what I just said, like, why do you want to do that? You can't do that. What are you talking about? A couple of gifs in there and some memes. And then another person came in and said, yeah, you can totally do that. But nobody's providing me any information. So now I'm like stuck on this one post where I'm just like, somebody tell me
Huh.
why, how, where, and who is providing the service? Because I got a bunch of questions for this person. Like, who is saying that you can remove an energy? That's just, I feel like that's impossible. Anyway, one last quick thing before
Okay.
we go on break is I think I mentioned before that there are seven major chakras, the ones that we're familiar with,
Yes.
but there are actually some believe from up to 12 and many believe up to 22. And I'm going to talk about quickly about a couple of them just to give you an idea of where they're located. There's one that is located past your feet into the earth. So there's a
Okay.
chakra that connects to you as a person, the realized being here, that connects you and tethers you into the earth. And it's popularly I want to say either a brown chakra color or maybe
Okay.
even a black. one. I'm not too sure. But that is one. So even below your root chakra, your first chakra, there is a earth chakra, and I think that one is the eighth one according to some models, because even then those models differ. So the
I
eighth
like that.
chakra is almost like your earth chakra. I have a book here on the human aura, and there's some pictures that I'm trying to see if I can find a model. And there's books on this, guys. Like you can go down a really long, deep rabbit hole. Anyway,
But it's
mhm.
it's fun. It's
It's a fun
so
rabbit hole.
no, it is. It's
It's fun.
interesting, and and again, it as like I would love to hear from our listeners if you find any kind of resonance, or as you start to kind of delve in, or any of the work that you've done previously, like what are some of the things that have happened in your life that you just can feel like, oh god, that like I mean, like when you feel something in your chest or like in your stomach, and like you're nauseated, or your shoulders are just killing you, or like
Yeah.
sometimes like you can really just feel that you're like looking at something with your third eye, like anyway, I love I would love to hear those things, if for people who've either experienced it previously or start to experience it as they go down our fun little rabbit holes. Shall we take a
Yeah.
break? Let's
Yeah,
kind of,
let's take a
yeah,
break
let's
before we bore everybody. All right.
we will,
Break
yes,
the
yeah,
start.
stop here, we'll be back in a couple minutes. Awesome. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Spilling the Tea Leaves podcast with Rachel and Michelle, who's dancing. She's got like a little jig going on. She's feeling those energy centers. It's great. Everything's flowing. This is our first session in the Summer Chakra Series. We are touching briefly on whatever an introduction to chakras could possibly be. There's so much, and we're trying our best to kind of delineate whatever it is we can attempt to explain
Yeah.
cohesively here. So we've talked a bit about different traditions and the overlap that is there, and the kind of alignment of the seven energy centers that is most traditionally and widely used today. And it's it's just so cool. We've talked a bit about how it just actually really, like, you can really feel it. At least I can on a pretty regular basis. And um, Michelle, I'd love to get your opinion on, before we delve into kind of the seven chakras themselves, and give a little like a baseline information about those. Like, I'd actually like to talk to you a bit about feeling into when things are not flowing, or when things are blocked. Like, how can you tell? How do you know? Like, what do you do then?
Well, this is a practice of mindfulness, of just being aware. For example, Rachel and I I'm not going to say hyper aware, but we are aware when things are not flowing correctly. And you do have to take the chance to kind of sit back and say, okay, do I feel not grounded? What is my fear? Am I not feeling creative? Am I not feeling loved? And hone in on those keywords, like, am I afraid? Am I feeling unloved, uncreative, uninspired? So there's certain keywords that can really help you hone in on what what you're lacking. And sometimes just your regular world problems. If you're having relationship problems, it does sometimes affect the way our heart chakra is processing uh, your energy. So with every symptom, I guess there is a usually a corresponding chakra. And
Okay.
there are ways to keep them balanced and healthy. In addition, I want to point out that there are a lot of times that if one chakra is not in balance, is the word that I want to use. I blocked is a word, stuck is a word, but they always have these negative connotations, like they have no space in our world. Like sometimes it happens, it's a process that we're going through, it's there. But when they're out of balance, I like to use, it usually affects your other energy centers. So if
Okay.
your plexus is sluggish, it might affect your heart or it might affect your sacral chakra or even your
Okay.
roots. There is for all of those who are watching, if you YouTube or if you Google Avatar Chakras, yes, it's a kid's cartoon on Nickelodeon, but the way they explained it was so redonkulously good
I'm
that it
writing it down.
makes sense for you to watch it and have your kids watch it too. It's a real quick intro to chakras. And the way they explained it is like this waterfall, and there's like a little pond with never next to a little waterfall. And when one of the ponds gets stuck with leaves or debris, it affects the flow of water to the other little spot.
Yes.
So that's the best description. Everything is easy and everything flows. But then when there is some junk in the trunks, when something gets stuck, it does affect the way um, the other energy centers. It affects the other energy centers, and that's normal. And then it happens, right?
Yeah.
And real quick before I jump into your first root chakra and how you can tell that it's blocked. Like I mentioned before, there's 12, even up to 22. And I want to just quickly go over where these are located. I mentioned the earth chakra that's outside of your body into the earth that still connects your esoteric physical, or excuse me, your spiritual body. But there's other chakras above your crown chakra. There's like a god. I'm not even going to mention the names, but they're up there. So they are
Okay.
outside of your body. Sometimes it's believed to connect you to like other dimensions. It's believed to connect you to like other things that are going outside of us. And some people believe that you can access them through your hands, which is really similar to the Mayan chakra system, like the
Okay.
way
Yeah.
healers work by connecting with those chakras via their hands. And then other people believe that you can also access them, obviously, through meditation and things. But there is a whole model. Hopefully, I'm going to link a picture up on our website somewhere so you guys can take a look at what we are referring to.
Cool.
Do you want to start talking about chakras, your root chakras? Do you want to go into that?
Sure. So, starting now and throughout the rest of our series, we're going to be working, as we've mentioned, with the most widely used Asian or Indian system, which consists of 7 chakras, starting with your root chakra. We mentioned because it's a chakra that I work with often, and it's located essentially at the base of your spine.
Yes.
It's associated with the color red. It has to do with your connectedness to the earth. Essentially, it is your grounding center, like Michelle mentioned. So the idea was when you're actually sitting cross-legged or with your bottom, your badonkadonk on the ground, you would be thus connected through your root chakra to the earth. It
Yeah.
has to do with connectedness, safety,
Mm-hmm.
fear, um, feeling, I want to say at home, at ease, like being rooted, like literally
Yes.
rooting down.
It's
Um,
it's your basic needs. It's that security
you know,
chakra. It's the I am safe or I am home or I am centered affirmation. It's the your when your basic needs are met, food, shelter, water, whatever else that you instinctively need, that is your that's represented by your root chakra. And in Sanskrit, it is a Muladhara. Muladhara is how it's pronounced. Muladhara? Somebody correct me, please. Chakra. Um, but yes, like Rachel mentioned, it is that security. It's that like when you don't feel that you have your space,
Yeah.
when you are like, have you ever seen those people that are flighty almost? That's she's like, oh, she's such an like what an airhead. Like they're you can tell when somebody isn't grounded. They're not like tethered to this earth. Their head's always somewhere else. They're super spacey. They have no basis in reality. They have no effing clue what is happening. Those are usually those who are imbalanced in their root chakra. And
Okay.
one of the things that Rachel mentioned is if one of this is a quick fix, a root chakra. I mean, quick if you do have the basic needs met, obviously. If you feel like you're uncentered or ungrounded, just go outside barefoot and walk on the grass. Gardening helps as well. I don't want to get into too much detail because I want to make sure that we leave plenty for
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. Well, yes,
one.
as part
Sorry,
of our actual series, we're going to be starting with the root chakra. So we'll be delving
yeah.
into different mantras and everything that you can use
Crystals
to
and
begin to
crystals
explore.
and affirmations and plants and food and color, and it's going to be amazing. So
It
excited. It's
is.
like one of my favorite things.
Yes. So that's your root, and that is essentially. And again, I don't like using the lower and the higher, but that's kind of the if we're looking at
But
it
it,
in
yeah,
actual
that's how
terms,
it works. Yeah, that's
right?
how it works.
Yes.
This is like your earthly connection. It's your
Yes.
earthly connection, and from your solar plexus down, and then from your heart up, it's usually your spiritual connection,
Yes. So
right?
the root
Emotions.
chakra is your very baseline connection and where you are rooted into the earth. Going up then is your second chakra, your sacral chakra. This is your creative center. It's located in the same area as your creative organs, your sexual organs. It has to do with your expression on this earth, and it's really wild. Michelle, I don't know if you had this similar experience, but when I was pregnant, during each of my pregnancies, my creative abilities shut down. I couldn't paint, I couldn't write, I couldn't draw, because all of my creative energy was very literally during that time centered in that area. And it was like everything that I had was just going to what I was actually kind of creating in
Creating
literally
an
in that
eyeball.
time. Right. Like, oh yeah, he's grown a heart this week. Like,
I'm
there was
creating
a
a
lot
little
of
plant today.
literal creation at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's your second chakra is your sacral chakra, and it's
yeah.
and sexual expression is tied into that as well. Um, it's it's how you express identity, creativity, um, who you are, who you want to look like you are, for lack of a better way to
Yeah.
put it. Um,
It has to do a lot with relationships and relating as well. It's the oh my God, I'm going to screw this word. In Sanskrit, Savadhisthana chakra, like Rachel mentioned, it is orange. It does have to do with relationships and creativity. There is a whole other thing about using this very specific chakra um, in manifesting during climax. So yes, there is. So
We're getting into some juicy stuff
yeah,
now.
we might you know what, for the sacral chakra it might be like an R-rated um podcast. because there is a belief to be a magic associated with the chakra, um, when it comes to manifesting, because it is literally, like Rachel said, it is the creating chakra. Like that is your creative source where you are the most creative. So it makes sense that during a very specific time in your life, when you are climaxing and you want to create, that it works with manifesting, right? Sorry.
Listen.
Uh,
In terms of like, and again, Michelle and I come to this experience as women who are mothers. So it's having been through that experience, but also being creative individuals, whether it's artistic or doing this type of work, doing this podcast. I mean, there's a sense of creation there, but as a species, and again, as someone, as an animal intuitive, someone who is pretty tapped into nature in that way, the propagation of the species is is one of the most singularly intense creative acts, and you can't discuss the that creative act without it being inherently sexual. Like that's
yeah,
how you make the babies. Like
we'll talk about.
so
We're gonna it's sex, people. It's
so
sex.
yeah, so
We're gonna have it.
NS, not safe for work, right? NSFW. It's going to be
NSFW.
it's going to be a little juicy, but like Michelle said, this idea of, and there are lots of traditions. Satanism, for one, is really a tradition that really embraces sexual magic and sexual energy for that purpose, because that is such an intense manifesting energy. And
Yeah.
it's in that neighborhood. So this is all sacral chakra, sexy stuff. A lot of
Oh,
alliteration, and yeah, that's good
I
stuff.
like it. I
So
like it. Uh,
moving right
yes.
along. Right, solar plexus chakra is your number three. It's traditionally associated with the color yellow. It's located further up your abdomen, maybe a bit above your belly button, I want to say. I mean, like,
Above
not
your belly and below the rib cage, if that makes sense. Like right where your rib cage ends. If you're looking at me, don't look at my tummy, but just look at where my fingers are pointing around there. So if like you lift up your pants and it like sits where it sits on that weird, awkward. When you lift up your leggings and it sits on that like weird section, that's where it's usually look. Stop! I have leggings on. Why are you laughing at me? There. It's called the Manipura chakra, and it is yellow.
um this chakra is to do with energy and self-esteem and kind of your standing within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Willpower. It's the
yes.
willpower. It's the one that you take control of your life. So when you feel like you kind of are, yeah, not in control or lacking clarity or feeling helpless, it's usually, if I can remove a chakra, this would be it, ladies and gentlemen. This is
All
the
right,
chakra.
now we're
Right
getting
now.
into the meat. Really?
Yeah,
That's
so this
funny.
this would be it, because I don't, yes, it's something that I've struggled with always. It is the willpower, it's that decision making, it's that taking control of your life
Yeah.
chakra. And it's always, out of all the clients that I see, this is usually the one that's off balance. The
Really?
solar plexus. Yes. Out of all the clients that I see, this is the one that I feel is off balance. It's between this one and your heart. Oh, yeah, probably this one. It's sacral, solar, and heart. So solar plexus for
Okay.
sure, and then it's a close tie between your heart and sacral chakra. But this
Huh.
is like the self-esteem place. It's if
Yeah.
your lower chakras are off balance or your higher chakras are off balance, this is the one that's usually affected. And if you really think about all the issues that you're having, it usually stems from, I don't feel like I'm in control of this, or I feel
Yeah.
helpless,
Yeah.
or I don't have the confidence, or I can't make a decision. And this all comes from your solar plexus, your
Yeah.
self-esteem. So these are really important. It's emotional issues tied into physical problems, if that makes sense. Like
Okay.
things that are usually, does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
things that are, yeah, it's your emotional meeting your physical, which is perfect because it's your physical or your lower chakras connected to your higher and your heart. So
Yeah.
this is where they meet. And
Yeah.
this is, so most of the problems that I see in clients, and almost 9 out of 10, it's a solar plexus imbalance. So if I can remove a chakra from my body, this chakra would be it. Let's go back to solar plexus. Where do I sign up? Where's that lady?
Right. We need answers, people. How do you get this out?
How do
Um,
you get this? Yeah, yeah. So solar plexus is a big, I would, I'm happy that we're doing a whole thing on this one because this is such a huge one for so many people. And it also has a lot to do with spiritual bypassing, where you just want to blame something else for
oh,
your
okay.
issues. So this is like, this is going to be a heavy one. So if you're going to listen to any of these, aside from the sacral one,
Oh, yeah,
the solar,
definitely. Yeah.
into the sacral, get that double work in. The solar plexus one, I highly recommend that you really, really try to make a schedule thing to tune in, because this is one that you could work on, but this is one that a lot of people don't pay attention to, me included,
Okay.
always. So I'm gonna have chakra surgery next week. But
Ah,
that, that taking control of your life, it's that indecisiveness when you're feeling that helplessness.
yeah.
It's Yeah, that's your sacral. Your heart chakra, Anantara, I think is oh my goodness, Ananata. And do you
Okay.
want to talk about it so I can get the appropriate name?
Yes. So this is your fourth chakra. It is your heart chakra. That one's pretty easy to locate. So that's here, typically associated with the color green, but often also with the color pink.
Yeah,
Um, there's a lot here, obviously, with just love in general, but self-love, so it's not just about love outward. It's not just about the love that you have and compassion, although it is. I mean, this, and I think too, like for me, the fact that it extends outward to your arms, and it's, this sense of like, what are you embracing, what are you bringing in, both for yourself and for others. Like there's a lot, not just within your chakra itself, but like as it extends out. Now I'm the idiot with my arms out. As it extends outward, like what are you embracing in this world? What is giving you feelings of love and compassion and goodness, and how are you nurturing yourself, how are you nurturing others, how are they nurturing you, where are you getting that? um
yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
Anahata is the name. Sorry, not to interrupt. Anahata. Anahata?
okay.
My
um,
H's are really Chinese.
but it's interesting too, because with the heart chakra, it's not just about whether you're doing it, but your willingness, your willingness to love yourself, your willingness to love and embrace others, even when they may not agree with you, or things that are going on in the world. How do you deal with that from a compassion perspective? It's
Yeah,
it it,
it has
it
it's a big one too. The heart
Yeah,
chakra, especially. It has to do with forgiveness as well.
yeah, yeah,
Self love, not only
yeah,
like love for your partner or your children, self love, peace, and empathy. It's a this is a heavy one because when I see when I speak to clients, or when I work on clients, the heart chakra is usually the biggest one. It's like the one that is just so wide open and so overflowing. And unfortunately, when that happens, it's still an imbalance when it's
yeah,
overactive. When you have an overactive chakra, it's still an imbalance. You don't want to go too fast and you don't want to go too slow. Uh, I see that a lot. If you're already looking for a Reiki treatment, you're already in a place that you're vibing higher than most because you're looking for almost a spiritual connection outside of like, well, I'm just going to go to the spa and get my nails done and that's my self-love or self-care. Like you're doing a little more. And then this with the heart chakra in the spiritual community, we tend to give a lot to people and we tend to give ourselves, we tend to share, we love and light and all this stuff, but we are not doing the same for ourselves,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
True. No, true.
guilty. It's true. It's absolutely true. It's guilty. I'll be like, no, 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 no. I'll send it to you. We'll take care of it, and everything is like this outflowing of love. And unfortunately, we don't get it back. Not that we're expecting it to, but we're not giving it to ourselves. And that's a whole other chapter when we're not taking care of ourselves and knowing how to set those healthy boundaries or say no. Like we're just like, yes, take, 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 and we are not filling our own cups. So the heart chakra within the spiritual community, it's usually not an underactive one like the solar plexus. It's a very active
Got it.
place for us. It's a very,
Yeah.
very active place. Hence, shoulder pain. A lot of people carry their stress on their shoulders when they have an overactive heart. And I
Yeah.
love you guys, and I am happy you have an overactive heart chakra, but I want you to love yourselves too. Keep that energy for yourself sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the throat chakra or the Vishuddha? Vishuddha chakra.
Yes. Ha! So moving up into your actual throat is your throat chakra. This chakra number 5 is typically associated with the color. Wait, hang on. So green.
Blue.
Thank you. Blue. I'm like, okay, wait, where are we on the? Okay, good. Um, in really simple, easy, basic terms, it is about speaking your truth. Like there's it is about and we're not talking about telling somebody where to stick it, although often that is important for
It's nice.
throat chakra health,
It's nice.
right?
It's a nice one.
But like I think a lot about my beautiful loving children, and um before I get to the point where I'm snapping at, like I'm in heart chakra and I'm trying to give, and yes, I'm trying to be like the Virgin Mary and being very beatific and, oh yes, my lovely children, and then I'm like Batman voice, like, I've had enough, like that. When you go into Batman voice mode, that means you've gone beyond your throat chakra like threshold. Like I again, Michelle mentioned earlier, it's a question of mindfulness, and I in those moments, it's a lovely reminder for me to speak my truth earlier so that I don't go into Batman voice mode and
Yeah.
like,
Uh,
stop touching me.
Get away from me. Let me do this. No, it's yeah. It's if you don't, it's the communication, right? It's
Yeah.
for those who have a lot of throat problems, like
Yeah.
sore throats. This is a physical manifestation uh, of that problem. When you're not communicating, when you're not saying what you want to say because you don't want to hurt that other person's feelings, and we've all done this. Like, oh, God, I don't want to tell her anything. Let's just let her be like that. I do that often, and sometimes, and then you get to the point where you're just like, you know what, I, and then you just spit it out, and it comes out in the worst way. But it's expression, it's speaking your truth, it's communication, it's also realizing your purpose, and that it's when you're not when you're not speaking your truth, you're not being true to who you are, and
Yeah.
that creates a whole other set of issues. Um, when you lie a lot as well, that causes a lot of problems within your throat chakra.
Ah,
When you're not speaking your truth, and not only is it speaking, but not being able to listen to other. So this is all communication. It's
I
all
love it.
communication. If you're that type of person that you're listening to the other person and you're not even hearing what they're saying, you're not listening, you're just waiting for them to stop talking. so then you can say something. You have a jacked up throat chakra. You know who you are. So
We're
it's
not
not
calling you out. It's just an
calling you out.
invitation for
We're
you to.
just really communicate properly, effectively. Because if you're just waiting for the other person to shut up, then you're not doing yourself a whole lot of good, and you're not communicating properly. I mean, you're not doing the art of conversation correctly. And it is like Rachel mentioned, it is blue.
I
Do we
met.
go to Mercedes? No? Yeah,
Well, no, wait, no,
sorry.
wait. First, I have to tell the coolest story. Because I just met her today. I met the coolest chick today. When I was walking back from dropping the kids off at school, and um, her mother passed away about 18 months ago, and as part of her healing, she has started writing poetry and is doing these open mic nights. And I was like, that is some throat chakra work. It was so cool. Like it was just like her, and like her talking about like this, like, this sense of like getting it out, and it was just, again, it was like this perfect, beautiful manifestation of like some real throat chakra healing. And I just thought it was really beautiful. And yeah, so again, it's just like the way that every individual person works with each of their chakras and how they heal can be so, I mean, I'm not sure that every person has the fortitude to get up at an open mic night. That is some really intense work that she's doing, and I think it's so cool. Um, but again, it's, you know the way that each person kind of works through these centers and these energies is just, it's so individual and so cool as well. Um,
I like that. I like that. And it's when you're speaking your truth, and this is something that I have an issue with all my chakras, okay? So let's get that out off. Let's get that out of the way. When So I have a problem telling people what I do in real life. I have no problem going on YouTube and telling a billion strangers that this is my jam. I'm super woo-woo. I have I don't tell people that I even have a business. I'm like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And that's the end of it. Like, I don't go into details because some people are not accepting, and it's just where I live right now is just very odd. It's different. It's not I'm not in Kansas anymore, or even in Kansas. Anyway, so but when I do speak my truth, it helps me kind of realize my purpose. So I met a lady at on my daughter's birthday in another city, and the kids were playing, and our kids were by themselves. I only have one kid, and she only had the one child. And they're like, "Oh, do you think that maybe they can play together?" And they run around this like pretend city and earn money. And they were getting along great. And the whole time, she's a lovely person. She was so great. She's asking me what I do, and I'm like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And that's all I said. She's like, "Oh, well, she's talking to me about like that they broke into her Tesla and that she's like a computer engineer, da da da." At the end of like 2 hours, she goes, "Oh, do you think she's like, "Oh, I was wearing my bracelets." She's like, "I really like your bracelets." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I made them." And she's like, "You make them?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a crystal Reiki master that I actually have my own business." And she goes, "I love that. I absolutely love that. You have that face. You have that like high vibing hippie face," which I don't know if it was a compliment or not. I took it as a
oh, it
compliment.
totally was. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then she's like, "What's your business name?" And I told her, "Oh, it's Remember Love." She's like, "I've heard of you." And I'm like, I just spent 2 effing hours completely hiding who I truly am. And then all of a sudden, in the last 10 minutes, and I felt like I gypped myself of not like sharing these things with her. And I'm just like, why do I do this? Like, why am I not realizing who I am? And it's a work in progress. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
Ooh, we all
But
are, man.
it's true though. And I'm just like, why didn't I? I'm like, first off, I'm famous. That's awesome. I'm just kidding. I'm not famous. I'm just kidding. So, but still, I'm like, why am I like this? Like, why am I blocking myself? Okay. All right. So these are my two favorite ones. The
Yes.
next two
So
chakras. We are slowly, quickly running out of time.
Yes, yes. So the next one is your third eye, and it's located in between your eyebrows, but a little up. So, like, yeah, I keep rubbing
So
my
if you,
forehead, like most
no,
of you
if
can
you
see.
feel like that dent, there's like a dent somewhere on your forehead, like if you really squeeze in there, right above your eyebrow. It's not like perfectly placed, but it's, I don't know. If you guys see me on
You'll
YouTube,
feel it.
right there,
You
you'll
can
feel it.
like you can kind of like and your finger will just kind of like it settle in, and you don't even really have to try. You'll feel into it, and typically associated with the color indigo, so kind of a really lovely, deep, rich, bluey, inky, purpley. I don't know, to me, like watery, intuitive, because it is. So third eye is about it. It's still actually kind of it to me this is an interesting one because it's still very much you, but it's where you're really starting to reach into those like spiritual places. So it's this like rich kind of like again, like I can kind of like picture the cosmos. It's inky, it's like a nebula, like you're from
You're
within your own.
reaching there. You're
Yes,
reaching for. It's like your
yes,
internal, it's your internal galaxy. It's like your intuition.
yes,
It's your clarity, your psychic ability, your ability for clairaudience and clairvoyance. It's like your vision. It's still it's here and it's there. It's like that bridge between
yep.
your ability and the cosmos, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. So like
Right? Yes.
it's still very much you. So like when I think about the third eye chakra, to me like I want to use the word flavor. Like it's going to have a lot of your flavor. So like the way that Michelle works with spirit is so different from the way that I work with spirit. And to me that is like third eye energy like to a T because because it's very individual. It's still very within each person and we're walking around in these little muggle meat suits and that to me is like third eye. It's it's
No,
it's but
that's a perfect explanation. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, I could not said that better myself. It's your
Check.
own
Done.
jam. Done. Next one. No, but yeah, it is it's how you connect. It's how you follow your intuition. And this is if this podcast were to have a chakra, it would probably be the third eye chakra,
Oh,
right?
yes. We
Mind
might all
blown.
feel I suddenly like I love spilling the tea leaves, but I suddenly feel like I want to change the name. Like, oh my
We're
God.
changing the colors. It's gonna be purple, indigo, and
Yes.
green. It's yeah. It's like this. It's. If we were a chakra, it would be the third eye. It is how you perceive, how you see spirit, how you connect, um, how you follow your intuition. It's very individualized. Um, it's your ability to for inner guidance. It's
Yeah.
your wisdom and your insights. So it's like a bridge between your yourself and spirit. There is also the bad part of having an overactive third eye or third eye chakra or third chakra, third eye, yeah. And I wrote it down. An overactive third chakra without the support of other chakras would manifest into fantasies and illusions. So having an overactive one is also not a good thing. So that's why it's important to have being grounded. Again, these are those airy people that are like walking around all spacey. It's because they're not supported by the other chakras. So before you can start working on that third eye, which everybody loves and everybody wants to start working on immediately, you really need to take care of everything else. And the lack of clarity is usually an underactive third eye, like not being able to see the picture, the bigger picture, and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Sanskrit name is Ajna.
Ashna. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that one. All
So,
right, and then the final one.
yes,
Oh,
finally, yeah, oh, go ahead. No, what?
no, do you have something else to say? No, sorry, never mind. I thought you
Ah,
wanted to say something
well,
else.
no,
I was
no,
like, let's
I
go, let's
well, God, no, I have loads of stuff that I want to say, but I'm going to save it for the third eye chakra
And it's a
session.
lot. There's a lot.
No, there is. I'm too excited. So, the the final chakra that, again, that we're going to explore, and just to keep it to, because to kind of limit it, is your crown chakra. It's located essentially right at the top of your head, your
Mhm.
crown. Um, the color is a really vibrant violet. To me, when I picture the color, it's actually violet, but with gold. And I know that yellow and violet are kind of like at opposite ends of the color wheel, but to me, like, there's this like violet going into like white and gold. Like it's a really, but it's a very vibrant, alive violet color.
Mhm.
So it's here, and that is, and again, there 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 are other chakras above and beyond and without, but that is essentially where you end and the other really like begins. And so that is your connection to receiving all of the goodness and connectedness and richness that comes from your guides, from spirit, from goddess, from everything good that is above us, around us, but also within us. And it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's your connection to source, consciousness, the awareness of a higher consciousness, your spirituality, like everything. Think of it almost like a funnel where everything. When you hear another popular term in the spiritual community is I got a download last night, which is weird to me a little bit because I'm like, you're not a computer. Like, I understand connecting. So that's like a word now, right? Like, I got a download last night. Um, Whatever. Anyway, so if you're downloading information from like godly internet, then that's where a lot of the information would come from. I don't know. Listen, I I really love our community and everything else, but I'm also aware that there are trends and buzzwords that get fed in, and I will be stupid to ignore that many people are trying to sell you something.
okay.
So there are a lot of buzzwords. People want to sell books, they want to sell their ebooks, they want to sell, everybody's trying to sell you something. So while like a commercial is trying to sell you something, somebody's going to come up with a new buzzword to try to get this to you. There is these sell. Okay, let's not go there. Sorry. Just be mindful of stuff. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. There are people selling you pieces of glass. I swear to Jesus. There are pieces of glass and they're so beautiful and so colorful. They look like Skittles and they're like, this is volcanic glass. It's like obsidian, but the volcano just happened to spit it out in a purple form. They're glass flags and they're very clearly glass flags. But for somebody who's not familiar with it, they don't know that they're trying to sell you pieces of glass from like a leftover window that they weren't that somebody else broke. And the big thing is that crown and the third eye. They're like, this is gonna work with your crown chakra, this is what's gonna open it, but it's a piece of glass. And mind you, yes, some people believe there are healing properties in glass. I get that. If you're buying it and you know it's a piece of glass, go for it. If you're buying it because you think it's volcanic glass and naturally occurring, tis not. So, yes, our spiritual community has a lot of beautiful things, but you have to be mindful if they're trying to sell you something at the end. Anyway, you're back to the crown chakra. Your crown chakra is your connection to source. It has to do with spirituality. An overactive crown chakra really, is an obsessiveness or obsessive attachment to spiritual matters.
Oh,
So somebody who is constantly, again, not grounded, and that's
yeah,
all they're saying in their daily lives. It's like this, like a culty mindset, like somebody
yeah.
that's in a cult. That is indicative of an overactive crown chakra, and we don't want overactive too. We want happy balance.
Yeah, there are a lot of people within the spiritual community who ignore, for lack of a better term, the lower chakras. And there are even some spiritual traditions and communities who even within Western history, where you separate your base human needs, and you can't have any sexual thoughts and these human bodies, like to as though it's some sort of like duality where you separate out the spiritual and the higher thoughts from your dirty human bodies. And we've discussed chakra removal, so this to me is quite similar. You can't separate it even if you want to, or at least this person has not contacted us yet, and we don't know how. So, well, for
Please
right now, let's
contact
assume, right? for
us
right
about
now,
this.
let's for right now assume that you can't. You are in the body that you're in, like it or not. And B, who's who's to say that the things that we experience with these bodies are not part of what will get us home? This, yes, the chakras go from the base, the connectedness up here, but that doesn't mean that what is rooted and connected. I mean, to me, I think of a tree. Like the roots are no less important or beautiful than the leaves. And you can't have one without the other. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So to again to bypass or ignore or attempt to remove is ultimately going to result in quite a bit of heartache, I think. And
yeah.
um the work is hard, the balancing and
Yes, it
the
is.
mindfulness. Yeah. Hey,
Yes, it is. We,
Michelle and I are
girl.
not here to tell you it's easy, because it's often not. um
Sorry. I wish I would be like, hey, yeah, this is super easy. Everybody can do it, and then we're just all going to transcend in one big. Like next week, everybody transcends, and then we can just,
Yay.
cease at some point. Yay, we did it! But it's not. This is all work. We are living on this earthly plane, and there's things being thrown at us on every different angle, and it is for us to experience life. We are here to experience life, and one of the tools that we have been giving is uh, the ability to learn to use our brain. And this is one way that we are able to find some sort of harmony and balance in our lives in order for us to continue to do the work.
Yeah.
And this is chakras is one of the easiest things that we can kind of sink our teeth into. So if you're just starting and you're just coming in and you don't want a single piece of pendulum, you don't want to deal with the plant, like you want no crystal, you want nothing, you just want to focus on working on your chakras and working on yourself, you can do this. This is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is something that you could work with. Like you can, before going to bed, sit there, meditate, repeat the affirmations, repeat the mantras, and then you can start, if you choose to start adding crystals or plants or color therapy or witchcraft or whatever. But this is
Yeah.
something that you can do and not seem completely off your rocker. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. So I
Cool.
think this
So
is I feel like this is going to be the longest podcast that we've done.
we say that every time.
I know.
um,
I know.
but this was, I think, a pretty solid intro. So where we're going to go from here is to actually, for the next 7 sessions, delve in individually. And like Michelle said, we're going to be talking about different oils and color therapy and spirit animals and ways to actually work with each one of these energetic centers, and really give you some things to kind of meditate on and work with. um, and hopefully some of it resonates, and you can find a jumping in point and add it to your practice, or expand whatever practice you do already have.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for listening to our hour and a half long podcast.
It was
And I think
a
this
lot of
is, I
ground.
like this. Yeah, I mean this is one of my favorite subjects. So I'm living. I'm living for it. Okay, so I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
No, man, we got to cut ourselves off. This has been a big
Yeah, we're
one.
done. We're done. We're just going to be
Gotta
talking.
get out of here.
And this is prior to Rachel and I talking already an hour before my kids are coming in saying, I'm hungry, I want some lunch. All
Right?
right, so this is the end of Spilling the Tea Leaves podcast episode. I'm just going to
Something
stop
or
saying
other.
episode. I believe it's episode 12. But we're going to upload this on YouTube. Please make sure that you're following us on YouTube. Just look for Spilling the Tea Leaves. You can find us online at spillingthetealeaves.com. Rachel is taking over our Instagram. It's called at Spilling Leaves. We also have a Twitter at Spilling Leaves as well. Yeah, and make sure that you listen to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Please make sure that you are subscribing, sharing us, leave us a comment. Feel free to email us at spillingthetealeaves@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're getting some awesome feedback, especially on Instagram, which just like fills my heart on like this week where all the planets are doing backflips or something. So it
Ooh,
was just like
yeah.
this beautiful message that I got, and I was like, yes. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, give us a share, and we will see you next time for the root chakra episode. Again, my name is
Awesome.
Michelle Mello. You can follow me at rememberlovehealing.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at rememberlove. And this is my beautiful friend Rachel.
Hi guys, I am Rachel, an animal intuitive. You can find me on Instagram at Cottage on Wolf Lane. And if you want to DM me pictures of your cats doing weird stuff, I'd be up for that. That's definitely what I want to see.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.